we got a big one this upcoming weekend with Indiana going to Autzen Stadium to play Oregon. This will be a top 10 matchup. This will be a matchup that has College Game Day at it, but with big games, you get big headlines. With big headlines, you get a couple of smaller headlines, like I said before, that sometimes fall by the wayside that are maybe just as, if not more important than what you have being talked about at a high level within this game. What's being missed in Indiana and Oregon? For starters, Indiana are not like just some good story. Like, they are much better than their logo indicates, which is a gross thing to say out loud, but I think it's being missed across the college football public. You see Indiana as a logo, you think, oh, cool. The candy cane pants for basketball, Hoosiers, March Madness, all those things, great. No, like, the line of scrimmage play for Indiana is legit. They can hang with anybody up front. I really believe that. 4 yards of carry against Iowa on the ground. Iowa, what do? They stop the run. Stop the run, and they did not stop the run at that level necessarily against Indiana when it came to those yards per carry numbers. Top 10 is Indiana in sacks and tackles for a loss. I know that Indiana hasn't played like the most explosive offenses in the world, but against Illinois, and only scored some points against USC. I mean, at the very least, Iowa, they're going to try to run the football too. Indiana still top 10 in both those categories. To drive this point home, Indiana, line of scrimmage play, it's legit. They're not going to get blown off the football. I would be shocked if we see Indiana roll out there against Oregon, and it looks at all similar to what we saw when Ohio State took them out to the woodshed a year ago in Columbus. More on this game in a second, but if you want to be at this game, thinking about going to this game, if you're a Duck fan, you're a Hoosier fan, want to get out to this one, Game Time is the best way to get you some tickets. All right, college football season is here. Buy tickets last minute with Game Time. If you want to buy them Friday morning, buy them Saturday morning. Game Time will have tickets on there for you, so long as they're not all sold out, I suppose. But I think Game Time, if there's tickets for it, they'll make sure you have it. Also, see the view from your seat before you buy your ticket using Game Time. So hear me clearly, save us all some money by what I'm about to tell you. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code HARDCOUNT for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, code HARDCOUNT, HARDCOUNT, for $20 off. Terms apply. Swipe, tap, ticket, download the Game Time app today. We also got to make sure we say this out loud. Fernando Mendoza over there in Indiana, I don't think he's just a good story either. I know he was at Cal a year ago, and there's a fair question to be asked as to, well, this is the biggest game of his life, right? I mean, 98 yards with my boys was huge, but brother, that's not Stanford. That's Oregon on the other side of this thing. And as much as the spot is big, Fernando Mendoza's played in some big games. Played in some, a better way to say it, played in some intense environments at Oregon when he was at Cal, at Auburn when he was at Cal. So he's not a stranger to a little bit of extra noise when it comes to him playing quarterback. Fernando Mendoza, I had someone in NFL circles tell me yesterday, they believe he's the better quarterback in this game. Now, what's the margin of advantage there for Indiana? I don't know. I like Dante Moore a lot too. I'm not saying less of Dante Moore, but that was what was told to me. So don't shoot the messenger. Bottom line, Fernando Mendoza, if you go ahead and look at the numbers here, graphics and stats by Cato, numbers pretty eerily similar between him and A1 Dante Moore. Now, Dante Moore is getting all the Heisman buzz and being talked about as a guy who could be a top pick in next year's draft. Fernando Mendoza getting some of that discussion too. A little bit less volume, but still getting some of that discussion. Pretty similar production. So it's going to be a phenomenal quarterback duel, I think, when we get this one in Eugene. So make no mistake about it, Indiana is legit on the line of scrimmage. Fernando Mendoza is not going to walk out there, I don't think, and have any heart palpitations when it comes to how he looks against the Ducks. Now, for Oregon, I've said so many good things about them, and they're all true. This is going to sound like I'm taking a slight at Oregon, but I just want to make sure we say this out loud to get it out there because it's not being said nearly enough. Dan Lanning is the best motivator, the best communicator in college football. He's an absolute dog. Make no mistake about that. But at the exact same time, this year's team is not last year's team. This year's team, I think, still has to prove they can handle success at the level they have it right now. Because you beat Penn State, you have a bye week, everybody is telling you how great you are. Oregon's the best team in college football. Oregon's going to be a playoff. They're going to, play Ohio State for a Big Ten title. All that, and all that's fair. All that's earned. But last year's team was so legit because they heard that buzz after they beat Ohio State in the regular season, heard all the great things said about them, and then went and handled business every single week thereafter in a semi-convincing way outside of the Wisconsin game. And that was even the end of the year. So like Oregon, they were so good at resetting was last year's team. This year's team still has to prove that in this spot now where you've had 2 weeks to soak in the Penn State win, and you got a team that can beat you if you don't bring your best against Indiana. Also not being said enough, Will Stein, the genius OC out there for them in Autzen, will probably at some point in time be a head coach here, sooner rather than later. He's got a whole week to cook something up during that bye week. I don't think Will Stein got in his bag a little bit here. You don't think he did some self-scouting over things that they've run over the course of this season and things they have set up for the Indiana game. Do not be surprised if we see Oregon pop out there with some different things that we haven't seen to this point in the season. He's only coached one game where he actually had to go into the bag a little bit more, where he actually had a team on the other side that could potentially beat them. Like, no disrespect to Oregon State or Oklahoma State, I'm not calling my best stuff against them. Sure, we'll have a couple of things in there that are fun with Kenyon Sadiq playing quarterback for us in a Wildcat formation, but I think they got a few bullets in the chamber through the Ducks. That bag is deep. Make that very clear. Last take here. This game is as big as it feels. Because us as college football fans, I love us, but we're a little bit toxic. We love to do the whole revisionist history stuff. I've already heard rumblings of it. Well, Oregon, big win at Penn State, but Penn State just lost to UCLA, right? How good is Penn State really? No, Penn State's good. Penn State took their eye off the ball and looked stupid doing it, but Penn State's good. That's not like a whack win by any stretch of the imagination for Oregon. You don't water down that win. So if Oregon gets beat by Indiana here, I don't want to do the whole thing where it's like, well, yeah, but we don't know about Penn State, so do we really know all that much about Oregon? So Indiana, that logo, I don't really like that logo as a college football elitist, so therefore Indiana, we'll see. Don't water it down. Don't water it down. I think these are two college football playoff caliber teams. Same thing can be said for Oregon if they win. Well, Indiana, we saw this before last year, right? They play a quality opponent and they just fall flat on their face. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think Indiana, 2 years in a row under Curt Cignetti, seems to be looking very wagon-ish, very college football playoff-ish. I think this year's team is better than last year's team. So don't water down the win, whoever gets it. Understand, these are two teams that I think we will see, at least have the potential to see in the postseason. So don't water it down. This game is as big as it feels. Indiana's legit on the line of scrimmage. Oregon have a week to cook something up, and we'll see how they handle that spot.